It was a chilly autumn afternoon when 7-year-old Mia sat on a weathered wooden bench outside her small schoolhouse, waiting for her mother to arrive. The wind whispered through the golden brown leaves scattered around her feet, and she shivered slightly, pulling her jacket tighter. In her hands, she held the sandwich her mother had packed for her lunch that day, which she hadn't had the chance to eat. Just as she unwrapped it and was about to take a bite, she noticed something moving near the playground fence. A pair of sad, hopeful eyes stared back at her. It was a scruffy, thin dog with patchy fur and ribs visible beneath his skin. His coat was a dull mix of brown and gray, and his tail hung low, as though he had long forgotten how to wag it. Mia's heart ached at the sight. She had always loved animals, and this dog looked like he had known nothing but hardship. Without hesitation, Mia tore her sandwich in half and walked slowly toward the stray, her small hand extended. "It's okay, buddy," she said softly. "You must be hungry." The dog hesitated, his eyes darting between Mia and the sandwich. After a moment, he stepped forward and gently took the food from her hand, devouring it in seconds. Mia giggled. "You like peanut butter and jelly, huh?" she asked, reaching out carefully to stroke his head. The dog flinched but didn't pull away. It was clear he wasn't used to kindness. Mia sat with the dog for a while, talking to him as if he were an old friend. She decided to call him Copper because of the reddish-brown patches in his fur. Before her mother arrived, Mia gave Copper the other half of her sandwich, watching as his tail wagged ever so slightly. "I'll see you tomorrow, Copper," she whispered before running to her mother's car. Little did she know, that small act of kindness would change everything. The next morning, the unexpected happened. The sun had barely risen when Mia's mother, Clara, gently shook her awake. "Mia, wake up," Clara said, her voice filled with urgency. Mia rubbed her sleepy eyes. "What's wrong, Mommy?" she mumbled. "You need to see this," Clara replied, lifting her daughter out of bed. Confused, Mia followed her mother to the front door. As Clara opened it, Mia gasped. Sitting on their doorstep was Copper, but he wasn't alone. In front of him was a small bundle wrapped in a tattered cloth. And then Mia heard it, a faint whimpering sound. Mia knelt beside Copper, who wagged his tail weakly and nudged the bundle with his nose. With careful hands, she pulled back the cloth, her eyes widening in surprise. Inside lay 3 tiny puppies, their eyes still closed and their bodies trembling. "Mommy, Copper brought his babies," Mia cried, looking up at her mother with a mixture of shock and joy. Clara's heart softened. She hadn't planned on adopting a dog, but seeing Copper's tired eyes and the way he had brought his helpless puppies to the only person who had shown him kindness, something inside her melted. "Come on," she said. "We need to get them inside." A mother's love and a new home. Mia and her mother brought Copper and his puppies inside. The little ones were weak and cold, clearly in need of care. Clara quickly warmed some milk, while Mia gathered an old blanket to make them a cozy nest. Throughout the morning, Copper didn't leave his baby's side, watching over them with gentle eyes. But every now and then, he'd look at Mia, almost as if he were saying thank you. After a trip to the vet, they learned that Copper had been abandoned months ago and had somehow survived the harsh streets. His puppies were only a few weeks old, barely old enough to open their eyes. If he hadn't brought them to Mia, they might not have made it. The vet praised Clara and Mia for taking them in, and the little family returned home with a plan to nurse the puppies back to health. Days turned into weeks, and as the puppies grew stronger, so did Copper. He began to trust again, wagging his tail more often and even playing with Mia in the backyard. Clara, who had been hesitant at first, soon found herself unable to resist Copper's charm. The once starving stray had become an irreplaceable part of their family. One evening, as Mia lay on the couch with Copper curled up beside her and his puppies playing on the floor, Clara smiled. "You know, Mia," she said, "sometimes the smallest act of kindness comes back to us in the most amazing ways." Mia looked at Copper and hugged him tight. "I'm just glad I shared my sandwich," she whispered. Copper licked her face, his eyes filled with gratitude. And from that day on, Copper and his puppies never had to wonder where their next meal would come from. They had found their forever home.